Hi, everybody. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. I'm so glad you've joined me today. We're going to be talking about a very important topic, the letter of intent. Before I get started, I want to let you know a few things. First of all, we've been testing out the chat box by putting our favorite song from high school into the chat because I cannot see you or hear you, audience members. The only way for you to communicate is to put information into the chat box. So if you have any questions or comments as we're going through the presentation, please just put those questions and comments in the chat box. And that gives me the best shot at being able to see the questions and reply to them and present the material all at the same time. The other thing I want to let you know is that we do record all of our webinars. We present live, but we record them as we're going, and we put them on our YouTube channel and sometimes on our podcast. So if you're interested in watching this or sharing this information, you can go to our YouTube channel or our podcast. And we serve families all across the United States. So if you see something that might help another family, please feel free to share it. We love helping to educate the community and advocate for you. And the more we educate people and get the information out there, the better our whole community will be. So we are here to hopefully answer some questions and get you thinking about some things for the future. Now, a little bit about Consolidated Planning Group first, and why do we do this? Well, first and foremost, we are financial advisors. Um, we have over 30 years of experience in financial services, things like investments and securities, life insurance, retirement plans, basically anything that any other financial advisor would do for you, like a Charles Schwab or Edward Jones, Vanguard or Fidelity. We do all of that same kind of thing. But we don't stop our planning when you pass away. We have to plan for your loved one's future as well, because they're going to need your help even after you're gone. So we help you plan for the special needs side of your house as well. And most financial advisors have no clue about that side of planning. We do because not only do we do this for our careers, but we do this as parents. All four financial advisors at Consolidated Planning Group are parents to loved ones with needs. So we live it, we breathe it, we work it every single day. We are on your side and we've been in your shoes. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are nationally certified Social Security advisors and chartered special needs consultants. So we have not only rounded out our education, our book learning, but we have the experience to back us up as well. And the reason we do this is because there are so few financial advisors who truly understand that when we were going through this with our own families, we saw how difficult it is and how much noise there is out there. And we decided that we did not want our clients to have to go through the guesswork and the stress and the trial and error. So we bring you answers. People come to us for things like lifetime care and protection plans, transition planning and ABLE accounts, understanding how the money needs to flow and how much money your loved one is going to need to maintain the level of care they're receiving right now, even after you're gone. We can help with state and federal benefits and local resources, no matter where you live. And again, we are here to advocate for you and to educate you. Out of the entire United States, there are over 263,000 financial advisors. But out of those 263,000 financial advisors, fewer than 200 focus on special needs planning. And we feel that it is so, so important to have a trusted advisor who understands both sides and can help you make sure that you don't do anything financially that could jeopardize the benefits that your loved one is getting. And so it's really important that you have one person who can help you on both sides of that coin. Now, a couple of bits to think about before we jump into the topic for the day, the letter of intent. You know, people often ask us, well, I don't know when to start planning for my loved one. Is it too early? Is it too late? The answer to that question is right now. Right now is the best time to start planning because you do not know what tomorrow brings. And if you have, a longer time horizon, you have the ability to plan carefully, to consider all of your options, to not be hurried or anxious about the planning you're doing, but to really take your time with it. And you're going to make much, much better decisions. Now, if you keep kicking the can down the road and procrastinating, you're not going to have so much time and you're going to have to, make quicker decisions. You might even be in a crisis situation. We certainly don't want that. Explore your options for the future early. Think about what's going to happen after high school. Is your loved one going to graduate to the couch? Or is there an educational opportunity in their future? Maybe they would like to go find work or volunteer options. Or, maybe they're going to look at transition programming or a residential community. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and it's important that you start thinking about those early. They could have a wait list, and you might want to go tour some of these programs and opportunities just to make sure that they're a good fit for your family. Finally, we always suggest that you be very careful when you think about just assuming that a sibling is going to be a future caregiver for your loved one. Siblings often will agree to do that for you because they love you and they love their sibling and they want to help, but they might not realize what exactly they're getting themselves into. And when the time comes, they're going to find out that maybe they bit off a little bit more than they can chew. And that can create some resentment towards you or to their sibling. And if you think about it from the caregivee perspective, here's their brother or sister, their sibling that they've been best friends with. They've been partners in crime, running mates. They've had a great time together and probably gotten into some trouble together. And now all of a sudden, this best friend is trying to move into a role of caregiver. It might feel a little bit like they're trying to be in charge. They're trying to be mom or dad. And that can create some resentment from that side of the equation as well. So just be very careful about that. It's not right for everybody. So today, the topic we're going to be digging really deep into is the letter of intent. Now, it's a very important part of your planning when you're thinking about the future and you're thinking about making sure that your loved one is going to be taken care of. The letter of intent is not a legal document. It's not something that you have to see an attorney about. You don't have to submit it to the court. You don't even have to get it notarized. This is basically like you sitting down to write a document that will ensure that whoever is going to come along and take care of your loved one after you can't or after you're gone, they're going to know all about your child. This is really going to be helpful for successor caregivers, for trustees, anyone who is going to be helping to take care of your loved one in the future might want a copy of the letter of intent. It will help them understand functional abilities, routines, interests, like and dislikes, all of that kind of stuff, and really take away some of that guesswork. So maybe you already have a lot of legal documentation in place. Maybe you already have a will or a revocable trust. Maybe you have a special needs trust and you already have guardianship or a power of attorney or something like that. So do you really need the letter of intent? And we would argue, yes. Yes, you do still need a letter of intent because this, it really helps make sure that your child's needs and their well-rounded personalities and everything else in their life can be taken care of. Your financial future and the financial planning for your child is super important, but that's just one part of a total comprehensive planning package that you need to be thinking about to make sure that they're going to get that same level of care, even when it's not you providing that care anymore. So I don't see any questions in the chat box yet, so I'm going to keep on going. Why? Why do you need a letter of intent? Well, it really helps fill in the legal gaps. If you have, a trust, that's going to tell you how the money gets spent. If you have a will, that's going to tell you, where the money should go. But the letter of intent really provides the reasoning behind what you're trying to do with the legal paperwork. It provides the explanation and clarification on why you want things done the way they are. For example, maybe you have money set aside in your special needs trust for vacations. Well, you would put into your letter of intent, hey, little Jimmy really loves going to Disney World, and we have made it a family tradition that we go to Disney World in the fall every year. And I would like you to keep on with that tradition for Jimmy. We're putting enough money in the special needs trust to make sure that he and a caregiver at least will be paid for. Things like that. It helps prevent disruption. It keeps their daily routine going. It keeps that stuff front and center. Their medical history, their emotional triggers. And it makes sure that from day one, when someone comes to take care of them, they have that information. It removes all of the guesswork, the trial and error, the things that you already know about your loved one can be put into this instruction manual, if you will. And whoever comes along to take care of them doesn't have to guess, do they like spaghetti? Do they hate spaghetti? If I try to serve them Brussels sprouts, are they going to throw a fit? And are there going to be Brussels sprouts thrown against the wall? The parents might know these things, but unless you tell someone, these are little intricacies that just aren't clear. And it would be so much easier if you could help prevent disasters before they strike. Or, let someone know what those coping mechanisms are that you've practiced with your loved one. Or, what do they do when they're really stressed out? Those kinds of things can help transform that massive mental burden into a tangible written asset that can be used as a manual, as a guide. So it communicates your knowledge as the parent. I mean, you as the parent probably know more about your child than anyone else on this entire planet. But you can put into the letter of intent information about your hopes and dreams for the future for your loved one. Everybody is different, and every letter of intent will be vastly different. But you can identify their diagnosis and health history, what medications they're on, who their physicians are. I would definitely, if I were sitting down to write a letter of intent from scratch, I would start with the facts, get those out on paper. And those are going to lead into, more personal things and more fun things. So, for example, maybe I start with the facts of who the doctor is, but, oh, you know what? Little Jimmy really, really hates to get shots. And so if he ever has to get a shot, we make sure that we have this certain candy, his favorite kind of candy, and we give him one peanut butter M&M for each shot he has to take, and that helps calm him down. Things like that could go into your letter of intent. And this should be a living document. As your child grows and evolves, and your family grows and evolves, this letter should be updated regularly to make sure that those changes are reflected. You don't want someone to come in with information from 10 years ago thinking that your child still likes things that maybe they just aren't into anymore. So do keep it updated. Another thing you want to think about with your letter of intent is keeping it accessible. Whoever comes into to your life to help care for your loved one needs to be able to find this. So when you're sitting down to write out this letter of intent, there are many different areas that you might want to talk about. Some of these will change over time, some of them will not. But what are the plans for the future? What has happened in the past? What benefits and resources do they already have? Are they receiving SSI, Medicaid? What does their educational history or employment history look like? What about their personality and habits, fitness and hobbies? What spiritual beliefs have they been raised with that you want to continue? Are there family traditions like that yearly trip that you want to continue? Do you have a special needs trust set up? Do you have an attorney? And where would we find that information if we need it? And I would say, it's a good idea to print this information or have instructions to where the letter of intent will be found. And let this be a family exercise. It doesn't have to be just mom or just dad. Maybe a sibling remembers something that should go into the letter of intent, or your individual, your loved one with needs. They surely want input on what their future is going to look like. So make this a family homework assignment, if you will, and invite them to help with this great resource. If someone was coming along to take care of me and I couldn't do it on my own, I surely would have a lot to say about what I would want them to do or not do. So here's some examples of things, wording that you might want to see in your letter of intent. So we've got sweet Hannah here. Hannah likes to dress herself, but she needs help picking the right outfit. She might need help with buttons and zippers and deciding what is weather appropriate. She really enjoys wearing clothes that are soft, nothing that will be scratchy on her skin. She prefers colorful clothing and pants instead of skirts. She likes to walk to school with her friends Lena and Scotty, with me following behind closely, of course. So this speaks a little bit to the morning routine. Think of it that way. And you can use flowery language, you could use bullet points, you could use a notebook, you could use a template. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that you need to get started. This one, it mentions that, she can dress herself, but maybe she needs a little help with fine motor skills like the buttons and zippers. It mentions a little bit about her likes and dislikes in terms of clothing, so that I, as a future caregiver, maybe wouldn't go out and buy her a bunch of black skirts because it says she prefers colorful clothing and pants instead of skirts. So you see, this kind of information can be very, very helpful. What about more about instructions? In the mornings and before bed, Hannah can brush her own teeth, but she won't do it unless she's told to do it. When she's told to go upstairs and get ready for bed, she won't remember what she needs to do. So step-by-step instructions are better. For example, go brush your teeth. Then get your pajamas on. Then get into bed. Whatever that bedtime routine looks like, it might not be in your household that you can just say, okay, Hannah, go get ready for bed and put yourself to bed. Maybe that's just not how it works in your household. laying out these routines and these expectations, it's going to be so helpful. It's kind of like when the kids were little, once in a while when we could actually get a babysitter, I would leave a note for the babysitter that would say, here's our cell phone numbers. Here's the number for where we're going to be, grandma and grandpa's phone numbers, and maybe the closest neighbors who already know my child and know us pretty well. Maybe I would also say bedtime is at 8. Don't forget to make her brush her teeth. And here's $20 to order a pizza, something like that. It's the same sort of thing, like this note that you would leave for a babysitter, except it's much, much more because this has to cover so many different things, not just a few hours in one evening. So here's some other ideas of things that you might include and wording that you might use in your letter of intent. First of all, the personal profile for your loved one. Include their full name, nicknames, what do they prefer to go by, their communication styles, maybe their birth date, things about their unique personality, strengths, preferences, areas of concern. I used to have a little buddy who loved telling dad jokes. It was one of his favorite things to do. And telling dad jokes was just part of his personality. So something like that should go into his letter of intent. And he loved nothing more than to either have a little joke book with him or use dad's phone to look up jokes on the internet. Their medical history and care, who will be there medically, physicians, diagnoses, what medications they're on, when they take it, and how much. Do they have any allergies? All of that stuff should be in the letter of intent. And what insurance plans do you have to help cover these kinds of things? And where is that found? Where can we get this information? I do see a question in the chat box. Penny wants to know if you will have access to the slides. And yes, if you have registered with your email address, later on today, we'll send these slides, and we're also going to send a link to the recording on our YouTube channel to that email address. Now, if you have not previously registered, maybe you're already watching this on our YouTube channel. If you want a copy of the slides, you can email us, contact@cpgcares.net, and we'll send you those slides. Nancy says, I can see that a successor guardian would be the medical power of attorney, but what might be some examples for a financial power of attorney? So one example, and a financial POA isn't always required if there's not a lot of finances. But some areas where there might be a financial power of attorney is if you have someone who maybe is working or living in their own apartment and they have their own bank account, their own rent. I could see needing a power of attorney financially for those things because, for example, my son lives in Chicago. He's got his own apartment. He's got his own bank account, all of that kind of stuff. But if something happens to him and I need to get into his bank account to pay the bills, or I need to sign into his utility or rental portals to be able to pay those bills, those are some areas where financial power of attorney might come in handy. If they don't have a lot of their own money, that might not be important for you. All right, so in this letter of intent, you want to include things about their daily routine. I mentioned walking to school. What does that process look like? What does pickup after school look like? The morning routine, the bedtime routine. Are there meal preferences, hobbies, rituals, self-care, anything like that? What does a day in the life, weekdays and weekends, look like for your loved one? Behavioral supports. This is huge. If you know the triggers and things that annoy your child, let their caregiver know. Talk to them about loud noises or sudden changes. Talk to them about calming techniques and soothing mechanisms. Is there a stuffed animal? Is there a coloring book? What is it that helps your child um, really be able to calm themselves and soothe themselves? For myself, I love to color. I have one of those intricate coloring books and a nice set of colored pencils that I use when I get super stressy. Maybe your loved one needs to exercise or go for walks or scream into a pillow. Maybe they work out. Um, who knows what their hobbies are, what they can use to help regulate those emotions. Social and recreational activities. What are their needs? Um, I'm putting my contact email in the chat so you can ask for slides if you did not register with your email address, contact@cpgcares.net. So think about, their favorite videos. When my children were little, it was Blue's Clues still at that point. They loved Blue's Clues, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, things like that. And I knew that if we were having a tantrum, Mickey Mouse would cheer them up immediately. And then we could move on with our lives and back to other things. But what are their hobbies? Sports? Are they in band? Do they play an instrument? Things like if your child is in a sport, who's the coach? How do I find the schedule for practices? If they're in band, where does this instrument belong? Who is the band director? Who do I contact? What religious or community activities? Where are those things located? And what are the schedules? All of that can go into this letter of intent. And you can see that there's so much. It might need to be a binder that your letter of intent goes into. You definitely want to have information about school or their day program, what details you have from the school's IEPs, ITPs, and SPs, 504 plans, transition plans, work history, goals for the future. And unfortunately, you do have to think about the end of their lives. It's sad for everybody, but I'll tell you one thing I know for certain. Every single one of us is going to die. So we need to stop being so shy about it and start planning for it. Think about what's going to happen after you pass away. Where will your loved one live? What funeral arrangements do you want for them? What burial expenses? What residential care do you want them in? All of those kinds of end of life preferences that you want for your loved one. Okay, all of that can go in your letter of intent as well. So to go back to some of the questions I've seen popping up, if you have registered, we're going to send you these slides. If you have not registered and you want a copy of the slides, you can email contact@cpgcares.net. I've also put my personal email and phone number, my direct number, in the chat box so you can reach out to me. So, how do you get started? How do you write a letter of intent? I want to remind you, like I said, anything is better than nothing. An incomplete letter of intent is better than not even starting one. So don't feel like you have to do it all at once. Start with the fun stuff. Maybe take a day and sit down and write out their favorite things. Don't start with the super heavy, sad things, right? Start with fun. What are their favorite foods? What music makes them dance? What's their favorite holiday? And what do they love to do to celebrate that holiday? What does a perfect Saturday afternoon look like for your loved one? So start with the fun things. Maybe over the next couple days or the next couple times that you work on your letter of intent, you're going to keep track of your daily logistics. Maybe keep a notebook in the kitchen and kind of write down what a day looks like on a weekday and a weekend. And let that be filled out throughout the week, and then put that into your letter of intent. These are things that you do without even thinking about it because you know your loved ones so well. It's the tiny little things that could make such a big difference. Like we always cut sandwiches into triangles. Or the nightlight has to be the blue nightlight and it always has to be on. I know this is really weird, but when I was little, I remember that I had specific names for different ways I wanted my sandwich to be cut. Maybe I'm more autistic than I'm aware of, but I remember little triangles was called grandma's house. If it was cut into four little triangles, that was grandma's house. Big triangles were the store, and squares, I think I had something else. And I would tell my mom, I want my sandwich cut this way today. Weird little idiosyncrasies like that you have in your family. It would be so nice for those silly little things to be able to continue. Then you can start gathering the professional data, the medical lists, the medications, the contact information for the doctors that you're currently seeing, some of your latest records from the doctor or from the school, the insurance cards. Put all of those things in a central location. Like I said, I highly recommend a binder that you can just grab and go. And then share this information. Maybe you update it once a year and you send a copy to your sister, your best friend, your attorney, your financial advisor. Maybe you just print the latest version and put it into your binder so it will be there. But you need to tell those key family members or future trustees where and how to get this document. Don't keep it on your computer and lock it up behind a password where nobody will find it. And you might want to even set a reminder on your calendar. Read it over again, update whatever needs to be done, and then save the latest version wherever it can be found. Bullet points are fine. A scribble in a notebook is fine. Just get these thoughts out onto paper. If you're well organized, that's nice. But again, it's way better to have something that might be incomplete than to have nothing at all. I'll read this note in the chat box real quick before we go on. Julia says, such great information. I'm with a local chapter of the ARC, and we get calls on a regular basis from family members or others who are suddenly in the role of caregiver after a parent or guardian passes away. And a detailed letter of intent would make their situation so much easier. Using Google Docs and other tools can be easily updated over time is super helpful. You can even open it up on your phone if you think of something to add. Yeah, while you're out and about, that would be perfect. What if we gave you a free complimentary template? So after today's webinar, along with the slides, we're going to send everybody this letter of intent workbook that we've put together. It's form fillable on your computer. You can use this either as your template and then just print the workbook, or you can use it as a guide to help you think through what really needs to go into your letter of intent. But this is a gift to you, just as a thank you for joining us in this webinar today. Now, it is so important to think ahead of those caregivers. You know, as parents, how important and how difficult it can be to be a caregiver for someone else. As a matter of fact, 53%, most caregivers say that their own health worsens when they have, and they have declining health, when they have to provide care for someone else. 55% of caregivers are unaware of how to establish a lifetime financial plan for their dependent. It's so important to work with experts in this area. And you never know when this is going to happen. I mean, we always say that it's very important to set these kinds of things up, to think ahead about who will step in and be a caregiver, and to make your wishes known. Um, we never know when things are going to happen. Like the special needs trust, right? You need to have a special needs trust for your loved one, because if you pass away and you leave your life insurance or your investments or your bank account to your loved one, they could miss out on very important resources and benefits because they're going to have too much money. So you need to make sure that those kinds of things are set up. And some of these things don't necessarily have a timeline. Like, it doesn't have to happen before they turn age 18, but it does have to happen before you as a parent pass away. And since I don't have a crystal ball, they're not selling those on Amazon yet. So nobody really knows when they're going to pass away. So the best thing, really, like I said at the beginning of my talk, the time to start planning is now. And I'm going to tell you a sad story. We've got a lot of extra time today, just to show you how you never know, right? On the 4th of July, I had a fantastic party at a friend's house. We were all there, myself, my husband, Andy, who also works with Consolidated Planning Group, and our friend, all hanging out all day, very, very close friend that we spend every day with, got onto the back of a golf cart and was going down the road very slowly on the back of this golf cart. And he fell off and he fractured his skull and passed away. This man was 50 years old. He owned his own company. He was very, very bright, an engineer. And his family still, even though this happened on the 4th of July, to my knowledge, has not been able to find his will. He did not have business continuity planning in place. He did not have succession planning. They can't find his will. His life ended abruptly at a time when no one would have ever suspected that this could even possibly happen. And it could happen to anyone. So you really need to at least have minimal things out there in place, because you never know when you could fall off the back of a golf cart from 2 feet off of the ground and crack your skull and be gone. So please plan for the future. Joyce put a note in the chat box. She says, I have 2-day programs as well as a 42-year-old son who still lives with me. This is such great information. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Joyce, for that kind note. So these are some of the other things that we talk about at Consolidated Planning Group that you should definitely keep on your radar. You know, we do 2 or 3 webinars every week. They're always free. And we talk about things like the future cost of care, the waiver programs, SSI versus SSDI, and how and when to turn on all of these different benefits. Sometimes we host attorneys who might talk about guardianship or alternatives to guardianship. Sometimes we have residential communities or summer camps, and we do panel webinars. But these are the kinds of things that we help our clients through when we plan with a family. Randy says there is an online version of a letter of intent, and it has even more. It's called Danny'sPlan.com. So that's very helpful and informative. Thank you, Randy. This link will take you to our upcoming webinars on our website. We have an events tab. You can pre-register, and when you do that, you get instant confirmation, of course, of the webinar. You get the link ahead of time, so you can put that on your calendar. You also get reminders, email reminders to remind you that this webinar is coming up. And you get to submit questions ahead of time. We do have a couple of questions that were submitted ahead of today's presentation. And so I always check those and make sure to work them into the presentation as I'm going through. But let's double check those questions for today. Maria said, I'm having trouble understanding SSI versus SSDI payments. We can certainly help you with that. I don't know exactly what you're struggling with, Maria, if you're on here today, but feel free to schedule your free consultation with us and we'd be happy to answer that. Nolan, Sherry. Sherry wants to know if it's important to let his brother and sister know about this letter of intent. I hope I've answered that question, but absolutely, let everybody know about the letter of intent. And another person wants to know what things to consider if the successor guardian is out of state. So that's a great, great question. If your successor is out of state, I would just want to make sure that they do have access to all of the information and anything that is a statewide service, like the waiver programs. If you're in Texas and you've been waiting 17 to 20 years for the waiver, when they move to a new state, they're not going to have that same waiver program. And you need to think that through. Are they going to move to the new state or are those caregivers going to move to Texas? And we can help you think through what might be different in the different states. Now, we did just hire on Jessica Alvarez. She is an SSI and SSDI advocate. She can help you if you need help with applying for SSI or SSDI, understanding the process, gathering your records, and actually doing the work for you. That's where Jessica would come in. This is the rest of our team at Consolidated Planning Group. Allison and Jeff own the company. Andy and I are married. We've got 2 boys. They're 25 and almost 23. And we've got a great staff behind us who will be reaching out to see if you want to schedule your free consultation. So please be nice when we call you. We're just trying to help and do our jobs. We will send out these slides to everyone who has registered. When you registered for this email, you put in your email address. So we should have that. And here is how you schedule your free consultation. You could either use the QR code here in front of you. You can call or email our office. Or I put my email address and my phone number in the chat box. You can call or email me directly and I'll set up that appointment for you. In this meeting, it's a Zoom meeting, so it's all virtual. You don't have to worry about travel or finding a babysitter or sharing germs. We would meet with you, talk about any questions that you have, get to know your family a little bit, and then we'll talk to you about our services and what we charge. This is still completely free. And we still take the time to answer your questions. So it's about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we'll see where you want to go from there. If you would like to work with us or if it would be a good fit for your family. We also ask you to fill out a very short questionnaire before this meeting. It is required. We can't meet with you unless we get this questionnaire. And it's simple little basic contact information. Things like just to let us know what we're walking into before we start the meeting. I see another question here in the chat box. What do you think about having the special needs person help fill out the letter of intent? I think it's really important to get the whole family involved, including your loved one with needs, because, maybe they'll think of things that you haven't thought about. Maybe even the siblings know things or think of things that you don't think about. Things that are important that are automatic for you. Like I said before, if it's just an automatic thing that you know that every time you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you're going to cut off the crusts and cut it into 4 small triangles. You need to let people know that. And the more input you have in the letter of intent, the better off you're going to be. Any other question? Yes. Oh, what a fun activity. And it makes them feel wanted and valued and loved. And you know what? Maybe I'm a little bit extra, but wouldn't it be fun to make it into like a party holiday thing that once a year you're going to get together and work on this and talk as a family about the future and what's going to happen? And wouldn't that be nice? I mean, thinking of it from my perspective, my parents didn't really talk to me too much about what's going to happen when they pass. And they haven't really talked to me very much about what they have in place and what plans are out there. And my buddy didn't really talk about it with his family. I think these conversations are super important. And this is a great way to open up those kinds of conversations with your kids, especially as they grow into young adults. Maybe it would even help them learn to think about their future and budget financially and think of things proactively like life insurance and investments. Your neurotypical children, as well as planning for the future for your children with with needs, disabilities. So I think, it'd be fun to have a little planning meeting once a year, have a planning cake and some planning party hats or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just silly. All right, I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Again, we will be reaching out to you to see if you would like to schedule this consultation. Please be kind. I hate it when people hang up on me. I know we all get a lot of spam calls and mail messages, but we're here to help. Schedule your consult. Follow us on our social medias. We've got our YouTube channel, Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page listed here, and reach out. So thanks again for joining me on today's webinar. I hope that you join us for more, whether this is your first webinar with us or 31st. We welcome you to come to all of them, watch them repeatedly. Sometimes you might even pick up little tricks that you might have heard before, but they just didn't sink in. So feel free to join us for our next round soon. Bye-bye.